Now, in some of the zip codes which are relatively poor, what you also notice is that the convenience stores are much more easily available as opposed to a grocery store. So, and then people are buying things from a convenience store, and that food is relatively less healthy. And then the outcomes are, of course, going to be impacted. A study that was done and recognized nationally is from New Haven, where they actually started to see in parts of New Haven where the quality of the food was not as good if you were in a poor neighborhood in New Haven, even in similar kind of stores. So literally it was recognized a few years ago that there was a differential in the quality of the food that people were getting in within the same town, depending on which specific part of the town that you're part of. And that actually is a concern. And as we go forward with some of these examples, you will be surprised. This is actually highly concerning. I'll say this and I'll repeat this because this is a policy issue that we will have to look at. The future lifespan of the children in our community can be determined by the proximity of their schools to a tobacco outlet and a fast food store. In our communities, if the school is very close to a tobacco outlet, the likelihood of a child smoking in future and having respiratory problems is going to increase. If a child is going to be close to a fast food place, they will be getting obesity-related challenges as they grow older. It's been recognized, and there are studies to actually show that. Now, here's a study that they did in Indianapolis. Very interesting. If in a low or in a relatively poor community, if a grocery store moved in that area, a quality grocery store moved in that area, the average weight loss after a few months per person in that community was 3 pounds less than they were. 3 pounds less. And if a fast food place closed down in the community, the weight loss in that community was 1 pound per person.
Wow.
This is actually the ground reality. Now, while it's good to be able to prove these numbers, we know that because communities are individuals, and a collective number of individuals would actually make a community. So all of these things, you just reaffirms what we pretty much already may have known. So quality food is an issue. Now, the concerning thing that I also want to mention is that we may be one of the generations in the United States which will look at our children and maybe our grandchildren, depending on what age we are at right now, to say to our children and grandchildren that you will live unhealthier and less longer than I did. And it takes a lot of sadness for a generation to be able to say that. And one of those issues that we are dealing with is the childhood obesity challenges that we have. Now, by the time, the sugary drinks that some of our children have easy access to, whether it's in their schools, whether it's in the community, or various places, is enormous. 1 can of soda has 35 grams of sugar. That's about 11 teaspoons of sugar, 1 can. And so when people started to say, well, we need to have documentation of what is being eaten. So if you look at actually the various cereal boxes, they say, well, let's start to document what's on the cereal which we are eating. When you start to look on the side of that cereal, it has everything about zinc and magnesium, but it has no relevant information. You're lost in that data. It doesn't even tell you the fact that by the time your little child is in the school bus, he or she has already consumed the entire amount of sugar that they're supposed to have in the entire day. And that's what we are having. So green leafy vegetables. Number 2, reducing sugar intake is going to be part of healthy eating. Number 3, reducing the salt intake. The average amount of salt that an average American or individual should have is about 1,500 milligrams, 1.5 grams. The average that we have is about 3.4 grams. So we have a lot more salt that we need to have in our diets, in our lives. Now, where is the source of this salt? And now this is relevant to us as hunger action teams. The 65% of the excess salt that people get is actually from the retail stores, the grocery stores. in the canned food. Think about all the shelves that you have in various places, and they have a lot of salt. And I personally know my patients, many of them, when they would get admitted with congestive heart failure, they said, well, I could not stay away from that soup. And if you actually go in any grocery store and look at that soup, pick that soup up, it is more salt than an individual is supposed to have in an entire day just in one can. Of course, it's no surprise that the people are going to actually get admitted with heart failure if their heart is not able to take care of that fluid overload that they develop. So that's a part of the challenge. If you cook at home, that is source of 10% of the salt. So you're likely to do a better job at home most of the time, as opposed to if you get it from retail, and 25% or so is from the restaurants. So restaurants are not as bad as some of the retail places are. But restaurants can do far better, and at homes we can do better as well. So salt intake is another part. So that's the other part that is actually going to be part of healthy living. We know that if somebody has a handful of nuts, they're going to actually be healthier. Just a fistful of nuts a day is going to be good and healthy for an individual to have. Except the nuts that you get most of the times are salted. Yeah. So try to separate out and identify the nuts that you can get which are not salted. And then it's almost impossible. I can actually pretty much guarantee, because I go and check on this, none of the convenience stores will have any nuts. They will have plenty of them, but they will not have any without salt. However, the supermarkets may have it. Grocery stores will have that. So that's something to keep in mind. Having a glass of red wine a day, one glass, or grape juice is something that can be healthy for individuals. It actually is known to be effective in that situation. Remember? So we know a little bit about the type of foods that we are looking at. Drink plenty of water. Plenty of water is going to be healthy. And another component I think which is important is the reduction of the portion size. So there's a 1/3 rule that people talk about, that I talk about as well. I do not follow, but most of the time. 1/3 is the food that you have, 1/3 is the water in your stomach, and 1/3 is empty. So 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and that's going to be a healthy way of living if you reduce your portion size, and that's the part of the healthy eating that's very simple and basic, easy to understand, but sometimes difficult to implement. Now, how is all of this relevant to us? And what I want you to think about this is that what you have in this room, what you have in this community of people who care about people who have food insecurity, we want these individuals to also be able to overcome their food insecurity, but give them the opportunity of a healthy life. And that would require us to start to focus on the quality component of the food that we try to share. And also, many of these are policy issues. The policy issues would be that we need to identify ways how can we try and keep some of these sugary things and cigarettes and some of these things away from our generation, the next generation. What can we do to make sure that it's easily accessible? Now, when people say that, well, there's a bad lifestyle of individuals living in some of the inner cities, no. Actually, if you go in some of the inner cities and provide the opportunity for the people to get what they are supposed to, they will get it. Time and time again, it has been shown. If you actually give them specific opportunities to get things at the right price, better price, fair price, they will eat healthy. And I think that's what is expected. Give me 1 second. So I think that's what is going to be needed for the policy perspective, because guess what, who pays when we are unhealthy? We all pay. So you can actually pay now, or you can pay later. And might as well pay now and allow people to have a good, appropriate life with quality of life. And get us doctors out of business. And then you can do that. And so again, use your power, use your connection, use your responsibility as committed individuals who want to do better, not only for ourselves, but for everybody else around us. use your power as a group to be able to advocacy efforts to try and change things. And this is going to be a collective responsibility. And I think this is very exciting because I don't think there's a room like this in our entire state or other states that exists yet. And then that comes with a responsibility, because if you are in the position to show the path to the others, then let's make an example that the rest of the country can follow. And no better place than over here. Thank you so much. It's truly an honor for me to be here today.